Yeah. I hate confrontations. I hate conflict.
I agree.
So with conflicts, I would definitely admit that that's a struggle for me. I hate confrontations. I hate conflicts. I'm the peacemaker in the family because, like you said earlier, I like fairness.
Yeah.
And just situations that tend to like shift closer to looking like a conflict, I like to avoid them. So when I see things starting to get close to that, I always try to avoid it in one way or another. Maybe it's by talking the other person down or withdrawing into myself,
Right.
which is not necessarily always the right way to go. So I think over the years, like being close to someone that is not necessarily family, that you have to be close to intentionally forces you to do things that you wouldn't usually do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm someone that I don't mind confrontation. I don't have a problem with it. I'm very passionate about relationships and the close people in my life, my friendships, my family, and all of that. So I actually, try to sit a little bit in being uncomfortable if it means that it's going to help our relationship be better. So that makes me maybe draw a little bit more towards friendship because I care more about the person than the situation at hand a lot of times. So I'm just like, yeah, whatever, let's talk this through.
Right.
I'm always the let's talk.
And just get it over with.
And just get it over with kind of thing. So I don't have a problem with just like, confronting Okpe and saying, this is how I felt about this particular situation. And also kind of understanding her personality. I know she's a reasonable person. She's very reasonable. Like she said, she's logical. So that makes it easier to talk to her. I know regardless of the situation, you're not going to center yourself and you're always going to want to listen and like analyze the situation. So I would always like bear that that responsibility
of bringing
things up. Like this is how I feel about the situation. Or I kind of felt this particular way about the situation, and then we talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think that has been a good balance,
and it has definitely been very helpful for me because without you bringing things up, I'll keep things closer to myself.
Right, and it could build resentment.
Yeah. And then it's not like I actually have a problem talking about those things when we actually do end up talking about them. Is actually bringing
it's the first step.
The way it makes it feel confrontational.
Yeah,
that's what actually overwhelms me initially.
Right. Yeah. So once we get past that first step of just bringing it up, and that's where even for me, I could bring it up and not know how to resolve. Like I don't know the resolution.
Right.
Like we said, I could be so engrossed in my feelings that I'm just very emotional in that moment, and I bring it up. Then you come in to kind of analyze the situation and be like, okay, it's great that you brought that up. Then the logic starts to come in and the thinking part of it to say, how does this actually connect to how I'm feeling, how you're feeling, and how do we like move towards the resolution?
Right.
So I think in that way, conflict has been easier for us too. And I think the biggest thing for us is just knowing that we truly, truly care about each other. And at the end of the day, we've both shown each other at different points that this relationship is important to us. So when there's a conflict, we see it as we need to move past this to continue our
relationship,
smooth, steady relationship. It's like a bump in the road that needs to be resolved. So not at any point do I feel like, oh my gosh, Okwe doesn't want me in her life, or like it makes things easier that way because we're both fighting for the same thing.
Like we have a common goal.
We have a common goal, exactly. So we can talk from that perspective, and it makes things easier.
I agree. For me, trust and vulnerability, those don't come easy, but they can also come very easy if I feel understood. That is literally that easy.
Yeah.
If I feel understood, there's a higher tendency that I'll open up to you, that I'll trust you and be vulnerable about how I feel in certain situations.
Right.
And we've kind of talked about that. Like, I feel very much understood by you. Like, over the years, like, you've learned to understand why I do the things I do, or why I react a certain way in certain situations, when to give me space, when to push for more information.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just as easy as that for me. If I feel understood, I'll talk more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, for me, it's similar to that. I just feel like I feel safe. Safety is something that emotionally safe. I think emotional safety is something that helps me move towards trust more quickly. If I don't feel like you truly understand me, if I don't feel like you're just as invested in the relationship as I am, I feel unsafe. If I feel like there's going to be repercussions when I share my true feelings and thoughts,
like
regrets and all of that, I feel unsafe, and which is something that they're valid when you're learning to be vulnerable with someone.
Right.
You don't know how they're going to respond. You don't know, what emotions what you say would spark, and it's just really it's
a hard
thing. It's just anything in the dark. You just basically go for it. But I feel like just because Okwe and I have grown in so many different ways over the years, and like I said, we are both invested in our relationship. Like, we're intentional about it. Like, we didn't have to stay friends after school. We didn't have to like make attempts to see each other, even when Okwe has been around for every single one of my birthdays. That's intentionality on her part, that I say it with so much like pride. I'm always like we've known each other 7 years. Like, every single birthday Okwe has been around, and we've lived in different places over the 7 years.
Right.
So she always finds a way to be there. So that in that way, that's something that it means a lot to me. I feel very, very safe because I know she cares. She has showed me, she has told me, and just a mix of those two things make it more it makes it easier to trust her and to be vulnerable. And I think another thing is that when recently I had a very big decision that I was going to make, and the first person I could think to call was Okwe. I literally, I was just like, I need to call Okwe. It was a scary decision. It was like, I was just like, I don't know. And it was something that, I didn't have to share it.
You could have just decided.
I could have just decided by myself. But I'm like, if anybody is going to care about me as much as I care about me, or even more, I feel like Okwe will be that person, and I can talk to her, share exactly how I feel with her, and she can help me maneuver, go through the emotions to actually bring in logic. And she'll help me make sure that I'm making the right decision
for
myself.
Right.
Yeah. So that's part of the trust that we've built over the years, because I can trust her. I know that she'll always have my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
So when I'm making those tough decisions, I literally can just come to you and say, hey, this is how I feel. And then she also has history to back up maybe the past things, the way I've express things in the past, or the way I've approached things in the past. She can kind of help me remember that and be like, in this case, blah, blah, blah. So that's how history also helps us, because we've been friends for a while. So she can kind of take from that history and also who I am in the present and bring those two things together to say, what do you think? And she's also the kind of person that it's not like she's forcing a choice. Like, at the end of the day, even if she tells me that this is what I think is best for you, if I don't end up going that direction,
I'm not going to hold this against
me. And very rarely except it's like we're joking around, and myself, I knew that it was the wrong decision and I was already laughing at myself. Like, very rarely will she say, oh, I told you so, blah blah blah. Like, she's never going to make me feel terrible for it. And she'll just be like, it's okay. Like, in that moment you thought that was the best thing for you, and you made that decision.
Yeah.
So I think that building trust is something that it's a journey that we continue to walk, but it's been different. It's grown.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Me too. I'm still going back to your point of feeling emotionally safe. I'm definitely still growing in terms of actually talking. Not because I don't want to share again, I guess in my head, I just wish everyone could be have like ESP, be mind readers.
Just open up your head and see everything.
Emotional conversations are actually very painful for me. I don't know why. Like when people start asking questions like, oh, like if you ask me how am I doing today, and I'm like, oh, I was feeling kind of depressed last week. For me, when I'm thinking about how I feel, that's what it ends for me. I never ask myself why.
Why?
So if you ask me why, I'm confused. It's not that I actually don't want to talk about it.
Right.
I'm just like, good question, yo. Why am I depressed?
I should have thought of that.
Like, let me get back to you. But like, when people just ask me that, I just feel kind of stumped. Like, oh, why did she ask me that? Yeah, but I've kind of gotten used to the way her questions kind of run. So even if I don't ask myself that, I can kind of see as a person, like if I'm talking to her about like, oh, this is how I felt last week. You asking me those questions is also a way for me to sort through the way that I'm feeling as well, and actually be able to answer those questions for myself, because I know that if I had to do it by myself, I probably won't do it.
Right.
So yeah, in that sense, I have felt emotionally safe with you, just being able to sort through my emotions and asking myself questions or answering questions that I know that I won't usually answer for myself. Yeah.
So in terms of growth, I see more of us just growing into, the best versions of ourselves individually, and letting ourselves be, in the sense that I can let Okwe be herself, Okwe can let me be myself, and still, work together in that sense as friends. Like I think we've covered everything. We're continuously having emotional safety, conflict resolution,
drawing
boundaries, just us being invested. Like I always tell her, like I'm always going to be in the front seats of all of her accomplishments. I'm always going to be there to hold her hand through difficult times. And I really do hope that that's something that I can keep to at every moment.
Right.
And I think that we just want to make more money.
Yeah, I was actually about to go to that. I think all of the stages of our relationship that we've built, like into our 20s, now moving into our late 20s, like where you start to like grow more in your career, chase things, your career to where the money resides, like build other relationships, like family relationships, like getting married, having kids. If we're not like very centered in our relationship with each other, it's very easy to start to
grow apart.
So it's very important that we've already built upon some of those things in our 20s, and as we grow into like individuals, we can still have a relationship with each other, and still have like mutual understanding, respect, and care for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though there's no doubt that the older we grow, the more the relationship is going to evolve. Like she said, different things will come in. We'll start having families and more responsibilities and stuff like that. But that's the place of intentionality. We can both sit down to figure out, what does that look like in this season now? What does that look like in this phase of life that we're both in? We don't have a problem. Like I think we travel together a lot, by the way, and some of our favorite travel memories has been us going to a different place to go and sleep.
I mean, there were times where we tried to plan with other people, and then it just ended up being the both of us. And we're like, that's nice. You can sleep and not do anything.
Like it's funny.
Sorry, no hate to those people.
We're also funny. So we're actually planning to go out to travel with some people. Remember, and then when they cancel, we're actually happy because
it's no pressure to do anything.
We can just be ourselves. A shame. So it's like we are very, very comfortable, like I said, sitting in silence together. So it doesn't even have to be always a well planned out trip or event. Like even if it's just
Right. It's just like
just being around each other. Like, I don't know, like being around Okwe just makes me really happy. And it's not like we're doing anything in particular half the time, but it's just like her presence, just, when you just enjoy someone's presence, I think that's something that I would say that I truly enjoy. So that would be something that I would always seek out at different points in life. So I'm hoping that as we continue to grow and evolve into, different versions of ourselves, we can still hold each other accountable to our intentionality at different points. I just want to say that, having someone in your life that you don't have to, like, it's not like family that, because you're family, you just kind of have to build a relationship.
Like you chose them.
You chose them, like, and they choose you back. That is something rare. It's something that I truly consider myself lucky to be able to experience. And this is something outside of a romantic relationship. I feel like people don't talk about friendship between women as much as, and how it actually helps you go through.
Navigate through a lot of life.
Life is hard, guys. It's very hard. This adulting shit is a mess. It's a hot mess. So, like, I can't even imagine having to deal with this all by myself, or constantly, not being able to open up to people for fear of being hurt, or not being able to trust people enough, which is rightfully so. People can be very mean. People can be very, not everybody has your best interest at heart. So I think having people that you genuinely feel emotionally safe around is a blessing. And I count myself very lucky to have that. So it's like, if you have something like that, I hope everyone can, hold on to that, especially during this period. Nobody imagined that we were going to be in a pandemic for over a year, or, going to 2 years now. But here we are, inside the freaking Panasonic. So more than anything, I think it's important to hold people that you care about even closer. Throw away pride, because I think we didn't talk about that. Pride is something that we don't allow to fester in our relationship. Because why? I mean, it comes, there's some situations where it might want to creep in and all, but just kind of going back to that place of, we care about each other.
At the end of the day, this is the person I'm talking to.
Exactly.
Like, what's my pride going
to do? So, throw away the pride, and just hold on to those you really care about, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I hope we've been able to convince but not confuse you.
That no-romantic relationships are just as important as
romantic
relationships.
What the fuck was that? Okay, do you have anything else to say?
No, you've pretty much said everything.
Alright, me.